All right, buckle up, because today we're taking a deep dive into the fascinating world of kanji.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
You've sent in a really interesting mix of research on this.
Yeah.
It's history, linguistics,
Uh-huh.
and even cultural anecdotes.
It's amazing how much a writing system reveals about a culture.
It's going to be quite the ride.
And kanji, with their origins in China but deep roots in Japan, offer a unique perspective.
That's what I find so intriguing. It's not just borrowing characters. It's like they adopted an entire system and made it their own.
Right.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's start with the basics for anyone just tuning in.
Okay.
What are kanji?
We're talking about those intricate characters you often see in Japanese writing.
Right.
While hiragana and katakana function as phonetic scripts, kanji are logographic, meaning each character represents the whole concept.
Okay, so it's not just sounds. It's like each kanji has a mini story embedded within it.
Exactly.
Wow.
And those stories can get pretty complex. You see, when the Japanese adopted kanji from China, they also brought in the pronunciations.
Okay.
But here's the catch.
Okay.
Japanese and Chinese are completely different languages.
Right, so how do they bridge that gap?
Yeah.
It's like trying to fit puzzle pieces from two different boxes.
It's a fascinating linguistic fusion.
Wow.
Each kanji can have multiple readings,
Okay.
often a mix of onyomi,
Oh, okay.
which are closer to the original Chinese pronunciations, and kunyomi,
Okay.
which are native Japanese words that share a similar meaning.
So it's like having a word with multiple personalities, each depending on the context?
Precisely.
Wow.
For example, take the kanji for today.
Okay. Cool. Okay.
You might see it read as Q in casual conversation. That's the kunyomi.
Okay.
But in a formal setting, it becomes konishi, the onyomi.
Interesting.
Choosing the right reading is like navigating a linguistic minefield.
No wonder people say Japanese can be so tricky.
Yeah.
It's like each character has a secret code. Speaking of secret codes,
Yeah.
our research mentions something called a teji. What's
Yeah.
that all about?
Ah, a teiji.
Oh.
Think of it as using kanji purely for their sound, regardless of their original meaning.
Okay.
It's a bit like a rebus puzzle.
Huh.
A classic example is the word for tobacco,
Okay.
pronounced tobacco.
Okay.
Literally translated, it means smoke, grass.
Smoke grass.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
That's great.
Okay, now I need to know, are there any other kanji quirks we should be aware of?
Well, there's gikun, where a kanji gets an alternative reading for a specific context or literary effect.
Oh, all right.
It's like adding a layer of nuance, like choosing just the right word to evoke a particular feeling.
So it's not just about learning the characters, it's about understanding the subtle ways they're used.
Yes.
It's like each kanji has its own personality and backstory.
Exactly.
That's so cool.
And speaking of backstories,
Okay.
the development of kanji in Japan is a tale in itself. Imagine a language with no written form suddenly encountering these intricate characters.
That's a recipe for some serious head scratching.
It is.
How did they even begin to integrate kanji?
It was a gradual process,
Okay.
but they eventually developed a system called kanbun.
Okay.
It involved using Chinese texts with special markings to guide Japanese readers towards the intended meaning.
So they were essentially deciphering these texts and figuring out how to make them work for their own language. That's incredible.
Yeah.
But what's even more amazing is that they didn't stop there.
Right.
They actually started creating their own kanji.
They mastered the system so well that they began crafting their own characters
Wow.
called kokuji.
Okay, that's next level stuff.
Yeah.
What are some examples of these Japanese-made kanji?
One that comes to mind is Tatar, which means mountain pass.
Okay.
It perfectly captures a geographic feature so integral to Japan's landscape.
Cool.
They literally took existing character components and combined them in a new way to express this specific concept.
Let's talk about ingenuity.
Right.
It really highlights how intertwined language and culture are.
Yeah.
But let's be honest.
Okay.
With thousands of kanji out there,
Yeah.
learning them all seems like a monumental task.
It's definitely a journey, not a sprint.
Right.
But there's a method to the seeming madness.
Yeah.
Remember how we talked about those onyomi and kunyomi readings?
Yeah.
Understanding those is key to cracking the kanji code.
All right, so how do we go from feeling overwhelmed to actually deciphering these characters?
Right.
Fill us in after a quick break. And we're back.
Ready to tackle those kanji?
Before the break, we were standing at the foot of what felt like Mount Fuji,
Uh-huh. Quite the image.
staring down thousands of kanji.
Yeah.
Help us make sense of this. How do people actually learn all of these characters?
Well, it's not like you have to memorize every single kanji overnight.
Oh,
Even native Japanese speakers learn gradually.
that's reassuring at least.
Yeah.
But there are still thousands of these characters.
Ah,
Where do you even begin?
think of it like building a house.
Okay.
You need a strong foundation first.
Okay.
In this case, that foundation is the Juice Kanji list, which
Okay.
contains about 2,136 characters considered essential for basic literacy.
Okay, so that's a more manageable number.
Right.
But still, how
Right.
do you wrap your head around all those readings and meanings?
That's where those onyomi and kunyomi readings we discussed earlier come in handy.
Right.
Once you start recognizing those patterns, you can make educated guesses about a kanji's pronunciation
Okay.
and even its meaning.
It's like having a linguistic decoder ring.
Exactly.
But what about all the new words popping up all the time,
Yeah.
especially with technology advancing so fast?
Uh-huh.
How does a system as intricate as kanji keep up?
It's a testament to the system's flexibility.
Okay.
Sometimes they combine existing kanji in new ways to express modern concepts.
Okay. I like what?
A great example is the word for computer,
Okay.
pronounced pasukon.
Okay.
It combines pop,
Short for personal and so on.
Mhm.
Short for electronic brain.
electronic brain.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's pretty cool.
They literally took existing characters and repurposed them to describe something totally new.
Right.
It's like linguistic Legos.
Exactly.
But of course, not everything can be expressed with existing kanji alone.
Right.
That's where katakana comes in.
Yes, exactly.
Ah, katakana.
Yeah.
One of the 3 Japanese scripts, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the one that always reminds me of cool, futuristic font.
That's a great way to put it.
Really?
Katakana is used primarily for foreign words and onomatopoeia.
Okay.
So for words like coffee or internet, instead of creating entirely new kanji,
Okay.
they use katakana to represent the sound.
Ushi.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It keeps the system streamlined while still allowing for new words to enter the language.
Mm-hmm.
But even with all this, isn't there a limit to how many kanji you can realistically expect people to learn?
It's true that learning kanji is an ongoing process,
Right.
even for native speakers.
Right?
But the beauty of it lies not just in memorizing characters,
Okay.
but in discovering the stories and connections woven into the system itself.
It's like each character is a key to unlocking a deeper understanding of Japanese culture and history.
Precisely.
Wow.
Think about how kanji often combine multiple meanings within a single character.
Okay.
Take the kanji for tree.
Okay.
It's a simple pictogram, right?
Yeah.
But then you have ga,
Okay.
which is 2 trees representing a grove,
Okay.
and another tree,
Mhm.
and you have meaning forest.
Wow.
Just by combining this one character, you have a whole vocabulary related to nature.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's like each character builds upon the previous one, creating a web of interconnected meanings.
And that interconnectedness goes beyond just individual characters.
Okay.
It influences how words are formed, how ideas are expressed.
Wow.
It's a fascinating example of how a writing system can shape the way we think.
Wow. So we've gone from feeling daunted by thousands of characters
Mhm.
to appreciating the intricate beauty and logic behind them.
Right.
It's like we've unlocked a whole new level of understanding.
It is.
And there's still so much more to explore.
There is.
Right. We've talked about the history, the linguistics,
Yeah.
the learning process.
Right.
But what about the cultural impact of kanji?
Right.
That feels like a whole other deep dive.
Absolutely.
But we'll have to save that for next time.
Okay.
Stay with us. We're back for the final part of our kanji journey.
Ready to dive into the cultural side of things.
We've covered a lot of ground, from deciphering ancient characters
Oh.
to building linguistic Lego structures.
Yeah, it's been quite the exploration.
But now I'm really curious about those cultural connections we touched on earlier.
It's impossible to separate kanji from their cultural significance in Japan.
Right.
It's woven into art, traditions,
Yeah.
even daily life.
That's what makes this so fascinating.
It really is.
It's like each brushstroke carries centuries of meaning.
Definitely.
Speaking of brushstrokes, it makes me think of shodo, Japanese calligraphy.
Ah, beautiful.
The way those characters come alive on paper is mesmerizing.
It's more than just writing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Shodo elevates kanji to an art form,
it does.
emphasizing balance,
Mhm.
beauty,
Mhm.
and the energy within each stroke.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that attention to detail, that
Mhm.
reverence for the characters,
Yeah.
it's visible in other aspects of Japanese culture too, right?
Absolutely.
Like,
Like some kanji are considered lucky or hold special significance.
Oh, really?
You see it everywhere.
Okay.
In traditional designs,
Huh.
auspicious decorations,
Oh.
even tattoos.
Interesting.
The kanji for crane
Okay.
is a great example.
Okay.
It's often linked with longevity and good fortune.
It's like having good luck charms embedded in the writing system.
Right.
Wow, I remember reading about how some businesses display certain kanji
Oh, yeah?
for prosperity or to ward off bad luck.
Exactly.
Interesting.
It's a tangible example of how deeply ingrained kanji are in everyday life.
Right.
And it goes beyond just individual characters.
Okay.
The way kanji are used in names is another fascinating aspect.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that.
Sure.
I've always been curious about how Japanese names are chosen.
Well, parents consider many factors.
Okay.
The meaning of the kanji, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but also the visual balance of the characters,
Wow.
the number of strokes,
Wow.
and even the overall aesthetic appeal.
Really?
It's a meticulous process.
So a name isn't just a label.
Right.
It's a reflection of hopes, values, and cultural identity.
Definitely.
It's like giving someone a piece of art that represents who they are.
Beautifully put.
Wow.
And that interplay between tradition and individual expression is what makes kanji so compelling.
It is.
These characters have witnessed centuries of change,
Right.
and yet they continue to evolve, reflecting the dynamism of Japanese culture itself.
It makes me wonder, with technology evolving at warp speed, how will kanji adapt?
It's a good question.
Emojis, abbreviations, digital slang, it's a whole new world of communication.
It is.
So what do you think?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah,
Will kanji find its place within these new forms of expression?
right.
Or will this unique writing system face challenges in the digital age?
Wow, it's definitely something to ponder.
It is.
That's all the time we have for today's deep dive into the world of kanji.
It's been a pleasure exploring this with you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time.